We have created a new tool that lets you know what stage of the business cycle a particular sector is in. This tool is called Macro Map and is located inside the Forecaster terminal.
Here it is. You can find it together with all the other tools. It's a very simple tool you can use in order to understand in which phase of the economic cycle a specific sector is. So, for example, as you can see right now, we can definitely say that most of the sectors of the entire world are in a recession, because as you can see, you can find exactly in this place, in the recession phase, all the sectors of the entire market. As you can see, it's very simple. You can just understand with a very quick uh, view where are we in the economic cycle. And if we scroll down a little bit the page, we can see some other information. We have a statistics page and a price change page. But let's start first of all from the statistics, because here you can find all the 11 sectors of the market: basic material, communication services, consumer cyclical. It's something we already know, because if you, for example, click here on this first link on the statistic page, you go directly to the basic materials page, where you can find all the participants at this sector. You can find the over, or like in this case, undervaluation for this entire sector. Probably you remember that this is a place you can reach through the ranking page, where you can find, of course, all the 11 sectors and also the industries. So you can go deeply inside all these categories. Okay. Here you have the symbol. So you have exactly, for example, for the material, we can use it as an example. If you click it, you can go directly to the S&P 500 material sector chart. Here it is. You can see everything. You can see the overview. You can see the overbought and oversold page, where you can analyze the statistics of the price. And of course, here you can find in which economic phase this particular sector is. And something really interesting, here we can find the best correlation column. For example, if you click it, you can make an order of every sector, starting from the one who has the best correlation with the seasonality. So, for example, if we take as an example the healthcare sector, okay, here you can find we have a 90% correlation with the 1 year seasonality. What does it mean? Very simple. It means that at the moment, the actual price of this specific sector, of this specific index, it's moving 90% like it did last year. And if you click here, you can go directly on the seasonality page, where you can find all the statistics. And in this case, for example, as you can see, we have 91% correlation between the current year, which is the actual price, and the last year. Okay. In this specific column, you have the one which is the best correlation. and of course the seasonality correlated. So for example, if we go to consumer cyclical and you open the seasonality, here you can find a very nice example, because at the moment the current year has an 88% of correlation with the 3-year seasonality. If you, for example, add all the other seasonality, you can see that the 3-year seasonality is the best. And this is why is the one we plot here on this table. Anil is asking a very interesting question. It says S&P 500. Is this info limited to the S&P 500 all around the world? They are very similar, actually, because inside the S&P 500 you can find companies that are active all across the globe. But yes, these sectors indexes are specifically for the S&P 500. If you open the specific sector, for example, let's go to consumer cyclical. In this case, inside the ranking page for a specific sector, you can find companies all across the globe. Okay? Everything is specified here. Okay? It's very interesting, as I told you, because, for example, if we go here to the technology sector and we open the seasonality page, we can definitely understand what is going on and what we can expect from prices for this specific sector. This is something, of course, we did in the past, because if we go to the quantum screener, you can find this kind of information for commodity, crypto, FX indexes. Starting from today, you have all the indexes and also the sectors inside the quantum screener. Okay, this is a very interesting information, because, for example, in this case, we know, talking about the information technology sector, that the current price, the current year, has a very high correlation with the 3-year seasonality. So what we can expect is a very important low at the very beginning of May, where prices can start to grow again. Okay? So for example, in this moment, we have most of the sectors in a recession, and this is something that you, as you can imagine, you can go and search for opportunities inside a specific sector. Okay, this take me to the price change, where we can find something really, really interesting. Okay, because if, for example, we go and we see the, for example, the performance we had for every specific sector in the last 5, 3, 1 year, 6 months, 1 month, and yesterday, we can see many opportunities. Look, for example, if we talk about the technology sector or the energy sector, what we can see something very interesting, because we have a sector here, technology and energy, that in the last 5 and 3 years had a very interesting, a very strong performance. Okay, but if we switch it to a short-term period, a very short-term period, and what I'm talking about is 1 month and 6 months, we can see a really bad performance. Okay, so for example, in this case, we can see the performance in 5 and 3 years. And then, in this case, talking about energy and technology, we can definitely say that in the last 5 and 3 years, these two sectors had a very strong performance. If we go in the short term and we see 1 month and 6 months, we can definitely say that we had a drop, because in the case, for example, of energy, we have a minus 12 in the last month and minus 10 in the last 6 months. Okay, here we can find some nice opportunities, because we have to understand, for example, if the energy sector is changing or not. For example, if we go here and we open the chart, we can find that in the long run for the energy sector, we had a nice performance. And at the moment, we are experiencing a drop, because in 1 year we had minus 14%, for example. Okay. If we think that the energy sector is still a good opportunity for the future, what we have to ask to ourselves is, are we going to use energy anymore in the future, or we go back to live in caverns without fire and living only with animals? I hope we don't make a step back and we continue to use the energy. And in this case, we can definitely see an opportunity, because we are talking about a sector which is now in a recession phase, okay, that in the long run had a very nice performance, but in the short term is experiencing a bad moment, okay? If we open the entire sector here, where we can find all the participants, we can find a very undervalued situation, okay? And if we analyze the overbought and oversold page, here we can find a very interesting potential bottom from where the prices can start from, okay? If we switch to seasonality, here we can find, for example, a very interesting situation, because as you can see, we have all the correlation which are very, very low. So we can expect the actual prices to do exactly the opposite of what they did in the past. At the moment, talking about the statistics for the page, we can definitely see an opportunity, for example, in consumer cyclical, okay? If we go here, we can see we have a very high correlation, for example, with the 3-year seasonality. If we open the page, in this case, we can definitely concentrate on this specific sector in order to find opportunities, because sooner or later it will experience a bottom, okay? So for example, at the moment, current year, it's moving exactly like price it did on average in the last 3 years, okay? So we can expect a bottom in the next 1.5 months, okay? And this is very interesting, because we can just, for example, buy the entire sector, buying an ETF, for example, which replicate the S&P 500 specific consumer discretionary sector, or we can go to the entire sector and we can analyze all the components, and we can, for example, go and do stock picking, okay? We can, for example, search for opportunities watching the fundamentals of the stocks. we can analyze everything about the companies. We can have a look inside this entire sector. And for example, in this case, we can find that Tesla is one of the biggest company in this specific sector. What we can do is, of course, analyzing the components for every single sector and try to find the best opportunities. Okay. So, for example, at the moment we are experiencing a recession. Okay. And this is something that can lead to higher inflation. Higher inflation will bring, for example, energy prices up. Okay. And this is exactly, for example, what we can experience in this phase, especially with the Trump tariff. We can go to analyze the entire sector, and we can definitely find a sector which is undervalued by 57%. And believe me, when a sector like the energy one is so undervalued, we can definitely find many, many opportunities inside this specific sector.
If you like if you like this video, you can try this tool for free at Forecaster.biz. And remember, every week we host a webinar where we share our best trading and investment ideas. You can find the link in the description.